Mr. President, I'm pleased to join my colleague, Senator Graham, and we will do everything we can to urge the President to reverse this reckless decision.
Well, I want to thank my colleague from New Hampshire and maybe just ask a question. When we went to Syria and Iraq together, did anyone in the military suggest to you that withdrawing in the foreseeable future was a good idea?
Absolutely not. In fact, they talked about how pleased they were with the gains that we had made, with the partnership with the SDF, with what they were seeing in terms of stabilizing those communities, people coming back to their homes, rebuilding, and how important it was for us to stay there.
Did they also not say that the Syrian Democratic Forces were some of the best allies we've had since 9/11?
Without a doubt. And we saw that firsthand, as you remember, when we saw them as sentries guarding our outpost, when we saw them in the communities, when we saw them in the detention facilities, trying to abide by international standards with respect to the foreign fighters they were guarding. It was very impressive.
Did anyone suggest to you that the war against ISIS in Syria was over and had been won?
Not at all. And in fact, if we look at this map, we can see this orange color. That's one of the pockets that remains of ISIS, right down in here. We have not yet eradicated ISIS, and that doesn't account for some of the cells that still exist throughout this area.
Do you remember being told that thousands of ISIS fighters have gone back into the fabric of Syria and they will reemerge under the right conditions?
Absolutely. And it's what we saw in Iraq.
Well, I just want to say the following. This has been a long struggle. Most Americans, all things being equal, would like to get all of our troops home. The Mideast is a very complicated place. I share the President's desire to withdraw our forces when it makes sense. And as to the public at large, I want to stress to you that having been in the military for quite a while, I'm very aware of the sacrifices required to go overseas and serve in Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan. And I've come to conclude that a presence over there is still necessary to keep us safe here. Now, there's a division in this body about whether or not we should have a wall as part of border security. I think we need a wall as part of border security to secure our southern border. Every Democrat is for border security. We just have maybe a different way of doing it. What I've tried to tell the President, with apparently very little effect, that you're right to want to secure our border because drugs are coming across, criminals are coming across, and illegal immigration is a problem for the country, and securing the border is part of the solution. But I told him that I don't know of any way to defend the nation from radical Islam by building a wall. There is no wall we can build between us and the forces of radical Islam that reside in Africa and the Mideast, places like Syria and Iraq. And I tried to convey to him that our forward deployed forces, in partnership with others, is a virtual wall. It is the best hope we have of stopping another 9/11, protecting ourselves and our allies, that a forward deployed presence gives us eyes and ears on the ground, working with others to protect the homeland and to destroy over time this scourge called radical Islam. The partnership between us and the Syrian Democratic Forces, which have been mostly Kurds, has been very successful. And I want to compliment my colleague from New Hampshire for taking the floor and expressing a resolve to maintain a fairly small military footprint in Syria and having connected that to our own national security interest. Maybe the good news, if there is any from today, is that Democrats and Republicans, after 16, 17 years of looking at this war, are beginning to come together that troops are necessary sometimes in some places, that military action alone won't win the war, but it is certainly necessary, that partners are a good thing. So I've come to conclude, when it comes to the war on terrorism, I'd rather fight it in the enemy's backyard than ours. And I'd rather have partners than do it alone. So the decision today by the president, and I think it was his alone, I think is disastrous to our own national security. And those 2,200 that Senator Sheen talked about and the great job they've done, that by withdrawing them, we have basically taken a part of the wall down and have now an open border policy when it comes to ISIS in Syria, that the consequences of this decision makes it far more likely there'll be a corridor from Tehran into Lebanon to resupply Hezbollah, and our presence there made that more difficult for the Iranians. As to who would be celebrating this decision, everybody that we hate likes what's going on. The Russians are up to no good all over the world, and their statement says everything you need to know about this decision. The only reason they're not dancing in Tehran and ISIS camps is they just don't believe in dancing. They're as happy as they'll ever be, and they're not into being happy. So to the president, you won the election, you beat me and many others. You have the right to make this decision, but the Congress has the duty to hold you accountable. I wish we had done more of this in a bipartisan fashion when President Obama drew from Iraq. If I'm nothing, I'm consistent. I want this president to be successful. I'll help him at every turn. Generally speaking, I'm very pleased with his domestic and most of the time his foreign policy. I am shocked by this. I think this is a decision that is against sound military advice, and I intend to do our part as a Congress to make sure that history records how this decision was made. There's a clear record that President Obama's decision to withdraw from Iraq and not leave a residual force proved to be wrong and was against military advice at that time. I have yet to find one person in the administration, the national security team, that thinks this decision was a good decision. So this was made against sound military advice. And I don't think General Trump is going to be any better than General Obama. I don't think General Graham is the answer to this problem. I think those who are in the fight that have been doing it for 17 years, the national security team the president has, they're the experts. Mr. President, if you don't like them or trust them, fire them. So what you have done, in my view, is set us back. The chatter out there is pretty disturbing. Talked to General Mattis today. It's pretty clear that the ripple effect of this is going to be as bad as we think it will be. To our Kurdish partners, I am sorry. I don't support this decision, and I'm hoping it will change. President Trump, leadership is about adjusting, being able to change your mind when circumstances warrant. I'm not saying we need to be in Syria forever. I'm saying now's not time to leave, and Senator Sheen made a very compelling case about the conditions on the ground. So the winners, Russia, Iran, ISIS, and Assad. The losers, the Kurdish people who came to our aid when almost nobody would, the Arabs who are part of the Syrian Democratic Forces, they're big-time losers. I can only imagine what it's like tonight in Manbij. I saw in the eyes of the people that we were partnering with hope and trust. America's here. America's good. Maybe our suffering is over. And when I look at the flag and the soldiers who wear it on their sleeve, we're not a perfect country, but we're a damn good country. And what makes us a good people is that we do the hard things. We're not the policemen of the world. I understand that. But we are the glue that holds this world together. We have betrayed our Kurdish allies. If this decision stands, if it's reversed, I'll be the first one to applaud the president because that's true leadership. To those who say we have defeated ISIS in Syria, that is an inaccurate statement. They have been hurt, they have been degraded, and I give the president all the credit in the world for changing our policies regarding the fight against ISIS, but I will not buy into the narrative that they have been defeated in Syria, Iraq, and I just got back from Afghanistan, haven't slept in 2 days, really appreciate the chance to go visit our troops and talk to our generals, but they sure as hell ISIS-K is not defeated in Afghanistan. So to say they're defeated is an overstatement and is fake news. It is not true. They have been severely damaged, but they will come back unless we're there to stop them. And I don't intend to outsource our national security to any foreign power. And this idea that Turkey is going to be the good guy, that Turkey is going to come into Syria and protect us against the rise of ISIS, that's just crazy. What Turkey's going to do is unleash holy hell on the Kurds. In the eyes of Turkey, they're more of a threat than ISIS. So this decision is a disaster on multiple fronts, and I hope it can be changed. There's a resolution urging the president to make a withdrawal decision based on conditions on the ground after a vigorous interagency process. Mr. President, I too want our troops to come home, but I don't want to tell the American people that we're secure when I don't believe we are. And what's odd is that the troops who are actually doing the fighting believe in this more than anybody. They were proud to be partners with the Kurds. Most of them had been to Iraq and Afghanistan numerous times and were heartbroken when we left Iraq and all the gains lost. And many of them went back to the fight to take it yet again. So to the body who loves the troops, that's good. The American people respect our troops. If you truly love them, let them win. They are not asking to come home. They do this voluntarily. They understand why they're there. They understand the benefits of being there. So I know it must be tough as a commander-in-chief to write a letter to the family of the fallen. I know that's a hard decision for any president to make, to put people in harm's way, but I just want the president to understand the troops who do this embrace their mission, believe they're defending their nation, protecting their families, they accept the risk. And if we do follow through with this withdrawal, I'm afraid Americans all over the world here at home are going to be more at risk, not less. And I can't imagine winning this war without allies. And if this decision stands, I can't imagine being able to sign up many people in the future to serve with us, to defeat enemies that threaten us after today. What hurts so much is to have been on the ground, see it get bad, see it get better, look into the eyes of the people who are willing to fight with us, see the hope they have that we're finally here. It hurts so much to know that everybody that we've talked to in Manbij, many of them are going to get killed. They did the honorable thing to come to our aid to help destroy a common enemy of mankind, ISIS. We have been dishonorable. This is a stain on the honor of the United States. I hope and pray the president will reconsider this. I know that every national security advisor understands that the time is not right to withdraw, that the situation described by Senator Sheen as to what will happen is more likely than not. If he does not decide to reconsider, then it will be incumbent upon the Congress to speak and hold him accountable. So if you're concerned about today's decision, as a member of the Senate, please join this resolution. It's very evenly worded. We all want the troops to come home, but we want to make sure they come home with honor and the conditions warrant them leaving. Right now, we are withdrawing in a dishonorable fashion. We're putting our own nation more at risk. And just as sure as I'm on the floor of the United States Senate, ISIS will reemerge. And all those who helped us are going to be in jeopardy. It will be harder to get allies in the future. And these 700 prisoners that were captured on the battlefield, we'll hear from them again.
Will my colleague yield for a question?
Yes.
You talk about those 700 prisoners, hundreds, a number of them foreign fighters, a number of them ISIS fighters from Syria and Iraq. What do you think will happen to those detainees who are being held by the Syrian Democratic Forces if we withdraw and there's no support for what they're doing?
Well, one of two things will happen. Number one, the Syrian Democratic Forces had a very ethical view of treating prisoners. I was astonished at the compliance with law and their desire to take their enemies and treat them better than they were treated. The jail was, quite frankly, very impressive. Well, here's what's going to happen. They're going to shoot them or they're going to get out. If Assad takes over before Turkey gets there, they'll kill everybody in the jail. And so what does it matter if a bunch of ISIS fighters get killed? It's about us. Once they're captured, it matters how we treat them. I want them tried. I want them held off the battlefield. We're not executioners, but the most likely scenario is that ISIS reemerges and they break out. And I promised the president this, and I told President Obama the same thing. If you'll stick with it and listen to the generals, no matter where it hurts me or not, we will be with you. We'll give you the political support a Republican can give a Democrat to see this thing through. I promised the president one thing. I will help you where I can, but I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to do everything in my power, if you don't change this decision, to make sure you own it so the next president will learn from your mistakes. With that, I yield.